بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today I want to discuss very shortly about the relationship between Arabia and the coast of East Africa. The relationship between especially South Arabia and East Africa, or East African coast, is a very, very long relationship that goes back to the time of Malika Saba, and who lived during the time of Nabi Sulaiman bin Dawood alayhi salam. So Malika Saba ruled Yemen as well as Habasha, that is Ethiopia. And she sent her people during that time to the East African coast, and it is the Arabs who build those stone buildings from Mogadishu to the Comoro Islands. And that is 3,000 years ago, or even more than 3,000 years ago. And obviously, the people of the East African coast who built those cities were Arabs, starting earlier from Yemen. And then when Arabs came from Yemen to Oman, then it was together. They were traveling back and forth from Yemen and Oman to the coast of East Africa. And what language were the Arabs speaking at that time? Especially when the Bantus, and linguists try to say that Swahili language is a Bantu language without any qualification. Simple, straightforward, it's a Bantu language. I say it is not 100% Bantu language. The grammar is Bantu, leaning on the Bantu language, and the vocabulary, the largest part of the vocabulary comes from the Arabic. Why? Because those Arabs who built the cities before the Bantu arrival were Arabs, and obviously the Arabs at that time did not speak Swahili because Swahili was not invented yet, was not concocted yet. So they were speaking Arabic, and they were called, and they called themselves Ahli Sawahil, or Sawahiliyun, which later, when the Bantus arrived in the 16th century, and all this is recorded in Portuguese chronicles, and there's a book called The Portuguese Period in East Africa, you'll find a lot of this in the book. Okay, so the arrival of the Bantu in the 16th century. When the Bantus arrived, they were not a weak nation. They were a very, very strong nation because they had discovered iron smelting from 3,000 years ago. So they had iron tools, while other Africans were using sticks and stones, most of them, not all of them. And the Bantus came from West Africa, from the area of Cameroon and Nigeria. And they moved slowly. They were not in a hurry. African continent is a mass continent. So their movement did not come like they were intending to move from Cameroon directly to Mombasa. No, they were moving slowly, cultivating the land until the population increases. Then a proportion of them move forward to another place, and they help each other to to remove to cut the trees and what have you, and cultivate yams and other agricultural stuff that they already had. And they did not reach the coast of East Africa until the 16th century. So when you calculate Arabs coming to the East African coast during the time of Balqis, Malika Saba, over 3,000 years ago, and the Bantus who came on the 16th century, there is many, many, many centuries of the arrival of the Arabs at the East African coast before the Bantus who came later. And yet, politics has it in such a way that it is the Bantus who are the original inhabitants of the coast. They are not. Arabs surpassed them by many centuries. Now, how did the Swahili language, how was it formulated? The Bantus were very powerful. And at the beginning, they had a resistance from the Arabs, and other Africans were non-Bantus who were there, like the Habashi, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Oromos, and others, the Somalis. But all these people, the Somalis, are cousins to the Arabs. The Ethiopians are brothers to the Arabs. Why? Because both Ethiopians and Arabs are Semites, Awlad Sam. And this is why when the Prophet sent his people to Ethiopia during the time of Malik Najash, I believe, and they were challenged to say what the Quran is saying about Nabi Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus. One of the Sahabas read the Quran, Surah Maryam, in what language? Obviously in Arabic. And Najash understood what it was said, to the extent that he told the Qurayshis, go back home, I'm not going to surrender these people. So these are brothers between Ethiopians, the Semites, and the Arabs. Now, when the Bantus came, started with wars, and when everything settled, and they started intermarrying each other between the Bantus and the Arabs, that is when the Swahili language started. That's when it started. And it took a very large portion of the Bantu grammar into Swahili. But it also took the highest vocabulary of Swahili is from the Arabic, because Arabs anyhow have got a much, much larger vocabulary anyhow. And they were there anyhow. So Swahili started as a pidgin language, mixture, using a lot of hands. And then it turned into a Creole, and a Creole into a full-fledged language, which we call today Swahili. The grammar leans on the Bantu languages, and the vocabulary leans on the Arabic language. So anybody who says Swahili is a pure Bantu language, I think is mistaken. And also the one who says this is a pure Arabic language is also making the same mistake, because you cannot take a mother and a father and they have children and you say, this child is purely an Arab or is purely a Bantu when mother and father from these two different groups married each other. Now, a lot of people will give examples pulling the argument on their side. I'm saying Swahili language is as a result of Bantu people intermarrying with Arab people. And when you look at the language of Swahili, it is not what anybody is trying to push, I think. First of all, when you meet any Swahili person, in the morning, afternoon, whatever it is, what do you say? Salamu alaikum. And he answers, wa alaikum salam. Kef halek? Tayyib. Khabari. Nzuri. Kullu kalima. Every word in that greeting is from the Arabic. Even Nzuri is from the Arabic. Do you know where it is from? How do Omanis say Zen? Nzen. And N is in there, Nzuri. And then you look at another word, Mtu Mzuri. Look at from a good dictionary, Mazara Yamzuru Mazran. But the grammar leans on the Bantu languages. So I don't want to give a short change to any of these two groups. And there is more than that. For example, if you look at our cuisine, our cooking, our cuisine, a large vocabulary of the cuisine is from Indian languages. Pilau, biryani, chapati, bajia, and so on. So I'm going to talk about the relationship between Bantu languages and Arabic that formulated Swahili language.